Peace and love, sisters and brothers. I am Trump the Hippie, your psychedelic president. Keep watching for one of my great peace rallies. Each is different. Help make them go viral. All right, so if you can all hold down the applause a little bit. Hold it down, hold it down. Thank you, thank you. And we'll get started. We'll get started. This is one of my humongous peace rallies, and this time over the border into Canada. So all of you Canadians, I know 9/10 of you think that the US should have elected Hillary, and the other 10th are Greens. But I'm brave. I came here anyway, you see, because it's like water off a duck's back to me. Criticism, scorn, name-calling. It's fun for me, you see? That's why I'm perfect for this job. In fact, you're going to be giving me tough questions, I hope, through this little rally, and the tougher the better. And you can call me names. The best, the worse they are, the better. So, first of all, a lot of people don't realize that I'm the first hippie president. So, if you look back in your encyclopedias, or what's that thing that the young people look at, Wikipedia. If you look in your Wikipedia, you'll see that you have to go back 148 years, I think it is, to find a long-haired president that looks halfway good with long hair like mine. Well, of course, long hair isn't everything. I'm also very hip-minded. I'm for love and peace, always have been. So when our generation, and I'm the same age as Hillary and the older Bush, and the older of the sons, and Sanders is just a little bit older than me. So we're of the hippie generation. So what happened after World War II? We were born. We grew up, and the president of the University of California predicted that my generation, when we were still in high school, he predicted that my generation would be the best behaved, most studious, the most wonderful generation ever. So we had to make that prediction fail, of course. And we rebelled. And our parents were a bunch of chain-smoking alcoholics, to put it mildly. And so we wanted to rebel, and they were for the Vietnam War, and many of them had fought in World War II, and very bravely, not to diminish that, but our generation wanted peace. Why do these world wars have to keep happening? They don't. That's not hip. So we wanted to change the world, overthrow everything. I grew up near the United Nations headquarters, where they're supposed to be making peace, and occasionally they made a little peace, but not nearly enough. And why not? Because the member nations are not doing what they should. But more about that later. So third of all, some of you probably still don't believe I'm a hippie. You probably heard that I eat my steaks well done. Well, of course. I want to be healthy. I want enough cooking to kill all the GMOs. Because I'm a health nut, of course. And I prove it every day. And I don't drink, I don't smoke. My poor brother died of drinking. He told me, never drink, Donald, never drink. And it killed him. And so I took that to heart. And I don't drink, not a drop, never smoked. And you might think, oh, well, then if you claim to be a hippie, then you better smoke some marijuana, right? Nope. I'm hipper than that. I'm hipper than the marijuana smokers, because I get high totally naturally, and I'm not the only one. If you talk to your older relatives who around in my age range, you'll find that there were a considerable number of us hippies who were into the organic food, sobriety, some meditated. That was too boring for me. Anyway, not sexual enough, too. So when we rebelled, it was to do everything better than the previous generations, including not just socks, not just steaks, but living a completely different lifestyle, without prudery, for instance. Oh, we have enough of this prudery, and the poor guys. We'll talk about the women later, but guys my age, you know, we hit puberty around 13, and then we're supposed to wait till we're what, 23, before we get married and lose our virginity? Well, that's what our parents expected. 10 years of suffering. Any guy knows what I'm talking about, right? Now, the women can speak for themselves how much they suffer or not, but that's not a way to run a world where the first 10 of your first 23 years of your life are in miserable horniness. So we got to change all that. Open up the sex. Open up the love. Now I remember what the women told me. They want love, we want sex. Okay, so let's make a deal here. That's not just a TV show. Let's make a deal. Okay, we'll give you love if you give us sex. Hey, am I the first one to think of this? I'm the great negotiator. Why hasn't this been tried before? All right, so we do that. But starting when you, thousands of years ago, people got married when they hit puberty. Now, that's a little bit impractical, but still something has to be done. So we'll figure it out. But in the meantime, of course, people have to be able to at least visualize nudity. See nudity. Now, this is a problem we have with the Muslims, is their idea. I'm not talking about the moderate ones, I'm talking about the extremist ones, so don't think I'm anti-religion. So the extremist ones say, okay, nobody gets to see anybody nude until they get married, and the young fellows, you're going to have a long time before you get married because all the rich guys have snapped up all the best women, and they have 6 or 8 each, or 10. So you're going to have a long wait. And you better not start jerking each other off either. You know, that's a sin too. Even if you claim that you're not gay, you're just doing it until you get married. I know some of you are thinking that. Some of them do that. But that's not a good enough solution either. Now that we have the internet, because now that we have the internet, they're looking at all of our women on the internet nude in the free pornography. And they're thinking, geez, I have to wait till I'm rich and 30 before I can start piling up my virgins into my harem. I don't know if I want to wait that long. I think I might just look at this pornography and all these women from the sinful infidel part of the world. And then they look at them and you know what? And then they think, I'm not going to get one of those women, am I? Unless I win one in battle. So I think I'm going to go join a militia. And so they do. And they join the militia because they're young and horny and angry. Even if they live in the West, then they say, I'm not doing too well. Don't have a job, can't get a girlfriend. I certainly can't get a white girlfriend. So I think I'll explode some bombs and kill myself or something. Then I'll go out into a blaze of glory and get my 72 virgins in heaven. Well, that doesn't work. They think it does. So I forgot to since there's so many of you teeming out there and just so anxious to ask me a question, why don't we take a slight break and let you ask a question or two before I get back to my unprepared speech. I'm just talking off the cuff, you know. I have the teleprompter. I can read a teleprompter. You know, people think I can't read. No, I can read a teleprompter, and I do when it's called for. But when I'm commuting with you, my people, we're just talking friend to friend here. Okay, so who wants to be first with a question? All right. All right. I'll hold it.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. As a self-described health nut, how do you explain the Lay's potato chips that you like so much?
These potato chips are not sugar-coated. They are not, I don't eat all that much of them. See, that's not what I heard. Well, you were listening to the fake media, maybe. And you see, I got to keep touch with my base, you see. If they think I'm too pure, right, then they'll just forget about me and scorn me. Yes. Right.
Well, so taking pictures of your base in the golf course, and it's pretty broad, your base. Yes. And I think it has something...
You mean the other golfers?
No, I think it has something to do with the Lay's potato chips that you're eating.
The base of my body.
Yes, yes, that's right. Oh yeah, that base.
You must have seen a lot of bodies. You must have seen a lot of bodies, I guess.
No, they show it on TV, but it's probably fake news. They probably touched it up or something, so it makes your bottom look bigger than it actually is. Yeah. So you don't eat that many Lay's potato chips, then you just sort of have them around, like.
No, I eat them occasionally. Yeah. But overall, I'm a very healthy. You know, my doctor said I was the healthiest man alive, right?
But he's a quack, isn't he? Isn't your doctor a quack?
Do you know him?
Well, we've seen him on TV. If it's the same guy, they've seen him lots of times. Yeah.
No, he's very good. Is he? He's very yeah. Okay, who's next? Anybody? Okay, I'll have to.
In terms of leadership, you can hardly call somebody who's reacting to previous administrations exclusively as a leader. Obviously, the leading's already been done, and it's kind of a rear guard, leading from the rear, what you're doing.
You think I'm just reacting to previous administrations?
You have a global development plan other than to alienate all the efforts that people have made in very tense circumstances, political and historic, to come to a rapprochement, an agreement to be friends. And I understand that America has been a significant power in making that happen in the past. So,
okay. Okay, let me react. Okay, because the world isn't at peace yet. I was elected to bring turmoil to the world.
Well, George Bush did that.
He was an amateur. No, I'm going to bring real turmoil, the kind of turmoil that results in real change. You see, people think, oh, things have been going along as usual, everything's predictable, yes, there'll be a few wars, and yes, a lot of people will get killed, and yes, but we're just keeping on, just keep doing the same thing, and eventually peace will come. Yeah, maybe in 100 years. I want to do it faster than that. So you have to add an element of turmoil, an element of unpredictability.
Well, you're no better than dictators and demons around the world that have been doing it all along, right? We've been trying to put them in a cage, right, and dumb them down and dumb down their influence through foreign aid, through joint ventures and partnerships.
If I were bringing violent turmoil to the world, yes, but I'm not. I'm bringing peaceful turmoil to the world, questioning turmoil, anti-bullying turmoil. So I learned on the schoolyard as a kid how to deal with a bully. And that's what I'm dealing now with Kim Il-jung in North Korea. I know how to deal with a bully. And it's to be unpredictable, for one thing.
Well, to be a bully like they are, bullies are unpredictable. I mean, except for their predictability, right?
Bullies hurt people. Anti-bullies don't.
I don't think bullies are people. I think they're a psychological illness. You know, they're insecure people. They're a sickness.
Well, yeah, but there are people too. And so I know how to deal with them. I'm not an expert in horses. I'm not an expert in dogs. I'm an expert in people.
Well, certainly you've bullied a lot of people, so you know how to do it.
I make the bullies back down, but I don't hurt them.
Well, people wanting to get paid are bullies? Yeah, I suppose they are.
No, when they want to get paid for doing a bad job. Then they're incompetent. They're not bullies, they're incompetents. If they don't do the job right, they're incompetent. So for instance, I took your SkyTrain yesterday, and I walked by a guy who's with a SkyTrain uniform on, standing there, and I say, why don't you tell those people to quit blocking the exits from the trains? And he gives me a whole big runaround. Oh, yeah, we tried, but they would never learn. I said, yeah, they never learned because you gave up. You gave up before they did. They won, you lost. You're not doing your job. If I were president of Canada, I would fire him. But I wasn't, so I didn't. Yet.
Well, the people that want to exit the train will show them in short order that they have to get out of the way if they're in the way. Otherwise, they're not going to get on, right?
But there's this little dance they do, and the more timid ones, the little short women, have a hard time getting out. People like me have an easy time getting out. Yeah. So I have to stick up for the weak, too. You see? That's what a real anti-bully sticks up for the weak.
Well, they should just paint a line a meter away, a yellow line, caution. There's away from the platform edge, and that way that's a no-go zone for people if they're getting on the train until everybody's exited.
All right, you're thinking creatively, and that's good. And that's what I'm doing too, is by this turmoil, I provoke people into thinking creatively, because they're not sleeping on the job. They think, oh, Trump's down my back. I better think of something new, something different, something amazing, or I'm going to get fired. And so then they do. Or I fire them, one or the other. And then they come up with things amazing. And then they're my friend. And when we started off, so I started off to get the Republican nomination against the 16 stupid Republicans. Oh, what a bunch of losers. So I knocked them off one by one. That was easy. And then people thought, oh, he was too cruel. He was nasty, cruel and nasty. And, those poor Republican senators and governors, oh, they were crying crocodile tears over them. Anyway, so, no, it was a game. I won the game. And afterward, what did I do? I put one of them, the black guy, Dr. Ben Carson, I put him in my cabinet, right? Why? Because I'm a nice guy. The guy admitted defeat. I defeated him. Put him on my team, right? So when you're playing these games, it's not like you're holding a grudge for life. No, you're having a little joust for the good of the people, and you end up, and then everybody learns their place, and they play their role. Carson, if he doesn't produce, he's out of the cabinet, like any of the others. So a little bit of turmoil, a little bit of uncertainty, a lot of unpredictability. This is how we get the job done. This is why all the previous presidents, well, not all of them, some of them were a bit like me, like Andrew Jackson and Teddy Roosevelt, but a lot of them never accomplished much, and they're totally forgotten. If Obama would be totally forgotten if he weren't black. Really, what did he do?
He proposed doing lots of things, and the Republicans stopped him. And they didn't give him the power in the second term because the bigots in America, and there's plenty of them, and there's plenty of fence-sitters, organized the anti-Obama vote, right?
So they beat him because he was weak.
No, I don't think they beat him. I think Obama had a very successful. No, he didn't beat himself. He only got beaten in the sense that you're talking, that he didn't create chaos and ignorance and idiocy and hatred.
Well, maybe he should have, and he would have accomplished what he was trying to accomplish.
What have you accomplished?
I've been in for about a year, and we're getting things set up. One thing I accomplished on healthcare reform is that the Republicans, and not all of them are bright because they were opposed to me, and they still are opposed to me. They can't stand my guts, but that's okay. I'm beating them. So they wanted to put in health care that was a lot worse than Obamacare. And I said, just a minute, I said, no, that's too mean. 2 words, too mean. 1-syllable words. My people understand 1-syllable words, and 2 and 3. And the Republican Congress backed down. I won. I said we're going to have something better than Obama put through, and we are. And now you might say, oh, well, the Republicans, the Republicans aren't going to stop me, because I took over their party, and I'm their boss now, you see? That's how you do it. Now, people will say, well, if we didn't have such a stupid president as Trump, they say, but then they don't realize, how do they get their presidents? They don't even know. And Canada, they don't know either. Each country gets the leaders that they deserve according to their system of selection. So you have the parliamentary system in Canada, you have the congressional system in the United States, and it's all in the US Constitution how the president is elected. So that's how you decide, that's how the country decides what kind of people and what particular people are elected. So if they don't like me, if they don't like Obama, if they don't like whoever is getting elected, they can keep on doing the same thing and getting the same answer, definition of insanity, or they can have a better way of picking a president. There's much better ways than the way I was elected. That was phony, that was corrupt. Phony democracy. So if I have time, I'm going to fix the democracy, so-called, in the United States too. And we're going to start electing people in a much different way. And the way the president is elected determines how they act in the campaign. So all the people that said, oh, you Trump, you acted horribly all through the campaign. Yeah, because that's the system. I was playing that game to win that game. You change the game, I play differently. Golf is a different game than basketball. Basketball, you have to be tall, right? So if you are watching this game of basketball and say, hey, that's not fair, they're all tall. Oh yeah, they're all tall because that's the game. That's the rules of the game. If you want short basketball players, you put the hoop down here. Changing the rules of the game. So the US elects its president in a two-party system. One person in 10,000 in the United States knows why they have a two-party system. And even fewer know how to change it, because that's harder. But I'm going to figure it out. Well, more like I'm going to hire the people to figure it out. Maybe, hey, there's a job for Obama. I'll make him head of the Constitutional Amendment Commission. Then we'll get some good constitutional amendments in there and elect presidents in a better way. I'll still win, because I can play any game. But at least the ones after me will be up to my caliber or better. Well, that's impossible. But anyway, they'll be good. They'll be better than the past, because they'll be elected under a different system. You want shorter basketball players? Lower the hoops.
I have a question about how you hire people. The only people in your cabinet are billionaires and generals. and they're really mean people. They seem to be, everybody you've got in charge of a system is against it. The EAP guy, he thinks it doesn't exist. Everything is fake. These things are tried and true. I mean, they're alive and well.
Okay, you got to get with my strategy here. Okay, so I'm playing for the Republican team. All right, so I put in my first string. The billionaires and the generals, whatever you think they are, and we see how they do. And if they don't produce, put them on the bench. Put in the second string. Eventually, I might even get to Democrats. Who knows? I can do anything. I'm unpredictable because I allow myself to be unpredictable because that's why I was elected. I got to follow through on my promise of being unpredictable. You can count on that. Small joke there. All right. So let's see what else we have on the agenda. Or do we have another burning question? Or yeah, okay.
So I have 3 short questions. Kim Jong-un has referred to you as a dotard. Number 1, do you know what a dotard is? And if you do, are you in fact a dotard? And number 3 is, why do you keep referring to Kim Jong-un as Rocket Man? Because that's not really an insulting term. It's actually kind of a cool name.
You can't count. That was 2.
What?
You said you had 3. You said you had 3.
The third one's about Rocket Man. First question was...
Okay, I'll just do one at a time. Because I have a limited mental capacity, as you claim. Right.
Oh, yes.
So the first one was... Do I know what the word dotard is? Well, like 99% of other Americans, I had to look it up. So, you think the president should be chosen by who knows the meanings of obscure words? And that I'm not a good president if I don't know all these? Okay.
My question was if you knew what it was. The second question was, do you in fact think you are a dotard? And the third question was, why do you keep referring to Kim Jong-un as Rocket Man when that's actually kind of a cool name?
No, I'm not a dotard, and I keep calling Kim that until it doesn't work anymore, and then I'll think of another, even cooler name, even cooler insult. I took down all the 16 Republicans with various names and various insinuations and various truths. So this is the game, You parry with the left, you parry with the right, and you try different things and see what works. This is more experimental. If I'm too predictable, I'm too easy to beat.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Was that all 3?
Was that all what? 3 questions. Oh, that was all 3 questions, yeah.
Good, because I'm really bad at math. No, see, this is why the people fell in love with me, because I'm like them. Right? I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect. I'm not a phony. Now, I remember in the 50s, I was a little kid, but I remember in the 50s, change mics. If you weren't someone that someone wanted to compliment, they would call you a phony, a square, uncool, and so on. And phony is the one, I think, which means false. It means false. Someone is putting on a pretense or something like that. And that was done a lot in the 50s for various reasons, including sexism and racism and all kinds of other things. This is cool. This being president, this is fun. All right, so for instance, when they argue, they come up with all these stupid arguments against me, like I'm trying to reduce terrorism, and my opposition says, oh, but terrorism is so rare, like you're going to get killed by an ass kicking a horseshoe over a 20-foot fence, more likely than being killed by a terrorist. Or, you're more likely to be boiled in oil by the fairies in a mushroom ring than to be killed by a terrorist. Well, I'm not an expert in math, but I know enough math to know that probabilities can change. So if the chances were going to stay the same all the time, like the chances of us getting killed by terrorists is going to be the same next year and the year after and the year after and the year after, then yeah, it's a tolerable thing and we don't need to pay too much attention to it. But Americans are thinking, what if it increases? What if, shockers, the future is different than the present? Americans are smart enough to figure this out, that this can happen. So that argument is just so phony, so stupid, and they throw that at me and they expect me to lose the election with arguments like that. But I'm going to have lots of fun with this. For instance, the people are really annoyed about a lot of things. And people say, I get off topic, I go off to trivial things, but they're not trivial to the common people. Like, for instance, when your computer goes out of date and you have to get a new one because the people writing the programs decided, hey, how can we make people throw away their computer and buy a new one? Well, we'll make everything so it's uncompatible and it doesn't work right. We don't have to do that. We could keep making stuff that works on all the computers, but let's be mean about it. Let's harm the environment. Let's make everybody throw away their computer and buy a new one. And why is this legal? Because there's no law against it. Maybe I'll make a law against it. No more planned obsolescence. Not just computers, everything. I'm a billionaire, and I told my plumber the other day, get me the best faucet, because this one only lasted 10 years. You know what he said? They don't make them any better. I said, what do you mean? They used to make faucets that last 50, 100 years. He said, yeah, they don't make them anymore. And of course, I'm smart, so I didn't have to ask him why. Because they're cheating us. Planned obsolescence is cheating the public, and it's bad for the environment. Yes, I love the environment, and that's why I'm going to stop planned obsolescence. You think I don't like the environment? No, I love the environment. All right. Now, there's a big debate now with the so-called leftist radicals that are telling the world that I'm so horrible, I'm the new Hitler, or I am a dodo. Well, make up their mind. Am I a dodo or am I Hitler? I can't be both. Hitler was smart. Dodos aren't so mean. So which is it? Anyway, the big mistake they made is they don't realize that we hippies of the 60s and 70s, we took American culture and politics to the highest level it had ever been. Highest level. So if you're going to change that, you've got to make it worse, because it's really hard to make it better. So every change they make degrades the high levels and the high standards we set. For instance, people say, oh, you can't say that. Well, tell that to Mario Savio. You kids, if you don't know who Mario Savio is, look it up in your Wikipedia. He led the free speech movement, University of California, Berkeley. And this was a powerful movement from the mid-60s. And it really was one of the big jump starts to the youth revolution. Free speech, what an idea. It's in the Constitution, but it wasn't really practiced. It still isn't totally practiced. And now, the so-called radicals, Antifa, and all that, oh no, we got to shut that down. No more free speech. Of course, they claim to be all in favor of free speech, except for the speech they don't like. So to them I say, Mario Savio. Then they say, oh, we got to let all the immigrants in. That's the most humane thing to do. That's the most radical thing to do. That's the most leftist thing to do. Tell that to Cesar Chavez. You know who Cesar Chavez was? If you're old enough. He led the United Farm Workers. Union man. Mexican background, born in California, ran for president, didn't win. He said, no, Don't open the borders. Why? Because my union members will suffer because the wages will be driven down. So this is the kind of radical I am, like Mario Savio, like Cesar Chavez, like, what was my third one? Martin Luther King. I'm more like Martin Luther King than they are, because Martin Luther King admitted that there was such a thing as race. These kids now, they think, oh no, race is just a social construct. No, race is a real thing. Real. You can often tell it by appearance, but not always. But it's still a real thing anyway. Martin Luther King didn't say, free the colored people who aren't really colored, you just think they are because it's a social construct. No, he said, free my people. First Negroes and then later called blacks. So he was the real anti-racist, like us. He's from my generation. I'm like him. King, Chavez, Savio. That's the kind of radical I am. Now, who disagrees with me? Anybody yet? Want to get into a little verbal fisticuffs? No? Okay. Have to give you more from the cheat sheet. Nobody can beat my arguments, really. You can try, but you can't.
Well, I'd like to.
Oh, good. This guy is really brave.
So,
Hold on.
your police forces are killing black youth and black people unarmed in all kinds of instances. And the football teams of the states are trying to draw attention to this because it just seems to go on. And you're fanning the flames of those tensions by supporting the Ku Klux Klan and so forth. And you've got the right wing organizing marches and to have their freedom of speech, but part of their freedoms is the freedom to murder other people, and whether they do it as policemen or as mobs, they've got a long history of doing it. And
Right. Okay, let me answer before you get too many other ideas in there. Just hold on. I'll let you continue in a second. Okay.
that's what the football players are.
Yeah. I get the point. I get the point. Let me answer. So, fanning the flames. I like that phrase. I like fanning the flames. Why? Because that will eventually get some resolution in here. Because this has been happening for hundreds of years. The blacks have been killed, murdered by whites for hundreds of years. And all the marches and all the this and that and all the bills in Congress hasn't changed it. So I'm going to fan the flames by not being pro-Ku Klux Klan, like you say, but by putting pressure on the private system of the National Football League, which is a private organization, nothing to do with the government. I have no direct power over the NFL, but I can put on social pressure by telling them that they got to resolve this, and then they will put pressure on Congress to change the laws, which is what I'm trying to do anyway, you see? So you add a lot of turmoil, and then eventually something can happen. Now, the police aren't actually, you called them my police, or you said your police, meaning my police. That I'm the president, but unlike Canada, we do not have a national police force like the RCMP. We have almost all of the police in the states are state and local police. There's some national things like drugs and alcohol, yes, but the vast majority are state and local police. So I don't have direct control, but I have something better. I have Trump control.
They're upholding the laws of the country and the Constitution to whatever degree they're doing that. And in fact, they're not upholding those laws very well. They're turning them into their own little businesses in some instances, framing people for crimes they don't commit, seeing crimes happen just because somebody's a different race or a different age of theirs. They assume. And they assume brown shirt behavior with the public. They don't have the right to go around and push people around.
Right, I agree. And this is not what I'm in favor of. I'm adding turmoil to the system to stop that, you see. You may think I'm going the ass way around about it, but that's my goal. That's what I'm doing because I'm hip. I'm trying to get there in the way that all the so-called hip presidents like Kennedy and Obama and Carter, they were supposedly the nice guys because they were Democrats. They got very little accomplished compared to what I'm doing. I'm going to be the most accomplished president. So yeah, I can pronounce real gooder too.
I think you're trying to make stupidity and ignorance a virtue, and all kinds.
They are a virtue.
All kinds of people who are stupid and ignorant are rallying to your cause.
Thank you for insulting my base, and that's why they hate you. But I don't hate you. Because I'm on your side too. I'm hipper than my base and I'm hipper than you.
You may be, I don't know. I don't see it.
All right, I'll give you some more examples.
That's why I think you're a leader from the rear.
A leader from the rear. Okay, good. Your humor is rising slightly. Okay, so I'm going to be the greatest president, and for one thing, what this world needs is a law that two different things can't have the same name. This causes unending problems. Well, I don't think there's another Donald Trump, but there are a lot of John Smiths, and there are two Washingtons. There's Washington State and Washington, D.C. So why do people have to say Washington? Which one? Oh, D.C. Oh, no, the state. No. Whichever one had the name first should have it, and the other one can change. Or maybe we'll change Washington, D.C. to Trumpburg, D.T. Trumpburg, District of Trump. Doesn't that have a better ring to it? You see, now, you may think I'm egotistical. Now, how did I know that you were going to think that I'm egotistical? Because I'm a genius, you see. And I just know those hard questions. I know the easy answers. So, but you might think he's egotistical, but that's just the kind of person you need as president. Because when I'm egotistical, that means I want to have people think I'm the best president, not the best black president. I'm the best president of all the presidents. So my ego being so high and means that I have to try harder to deserve to go down in history as the best president ever. And that's what I'm doing. I could have stayed just a rich, horny businessman, but I wanted to shoot for higher. I wanted to give back, as they say. So I put my businesses on hold, and now I'm serving the people. I'm using those same skills, that same drive. It's more drive than skills. Anybody can pick up the skills. Anybody can hire somebody who's skillful, but not everyone has the drive. I have the drive. I'm so egotistical that I want you to think I'm the best president ever. Hey, what's the downside of that? Just being president is so much fun. It's such a gas. Wow. I'm the most humble president ever, I think. Yeah. If you want polite, get a Canadian. No, I'm not polite. That's not in the job description. If you want it in the job description, put it in the Constitution. Make it a constitutional amendment. Hey, that's what I could put Obama in charge. Did I say that already? Yeah, I did. I just keep obsessing. This poor guy has nothing to do except sit around and smoke and try to figure out how to quit smoking. He has such low willpower. United Nations reform. Okay, what's wrong with the United Nations is it's not democratic at all. It's even worse than the US. There's no elections to elect people to sit in the General Assembly. It's all appointed people. Of course, I can appoint somebody good, but the others aren't going to. You got to have elections in every country to fill the General Assembly. Only then will there be world peace. One of my people it's kind of through a revolving door. But one of them said that he was an Islamophobe because he really was afraid of Muslims. Well, me too. I mean, as much as I'm afraid of anybody, and I'm a brave guy, and of course I have the U.S. military behind me, so it's easy to be brave. But I am scared of Muslims. But what am I going to do about it? Well, they tried the Crusades. They tried just wiping them out. That was a few hundred years ago, the Christians. That didn't work. The Jews tried setting up Israel. That sort of worked, except it's one of the worst conflicts for the last over 50 years, and it's still not resolved. And that was one of my campaign promises, you might remember, is to solve the Middle East, the so-called Middle East crisis. In other words, the Muslims against the Jews. And it's a hard thing, yeah, but I'm going to do it because I'm the greatest negotiator ever. And even better than that, I hire good negotiators because I don't have time to do it all myself. But being such a good negotiator, I know how to hire a good negotiator and let my son-in-law try it for a while, see how he does. There's 3 more years, plenty of time for me to solve the Middle East crisis. All the other presidents took 4 or 8 years. Where did they get? Nowhere. Well, you know, little crumbs of successes. I'm going to have a big success. Think big. Have you ever heard of Norman Vincent Peale? Who's heard of Norman Vincent Peale? We saw 3/5 of the hands go up. So Norman Vincent Peale wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. So he was kind of like a New Age guru, but from the 50s and 40s. And guess who he was? He was my minister. He was my minister in New York City. I went and heard him, and I liked him so much, he officiated when I first got married. So this is a famous guy. He wrote the book, and it's the most advanced form of Christianity you will find. If Islam had that kind of advance, they would be a good religion, instead of just an excuse for world imperialism, as the extremists are now. I mean, there's religion, and then there's fake religion. Going around killing people with suicide bombers, that's a religion? No, we don't allow that. We don't allow genital mutilation of girls. We still do of boys, but we'll have to put a stop to that too. No more genital mutilation, except for consenting stupid adults. That was my personal bias. Sorry about that if you like your genitals mutilated. All right, so another thing about the health insurance, Americans spend way too much on health insurance compared to you Canadians. But I'm not satisfied just to come up with a health care plan that's a little bit better than Canada or a little bit better than Britain's. It's going to be a lot better, but we're going to save even twice as much by getting America on a health kick. So let's put a tax of 50 or 100% on junk food. Lay's potato chip. Let's not get personal. That poor company's shareholders, they might want to do a deal with me someday. And okay, so an anonymous brand of potato chips. Yes, we'll get a 50 or 100% tax. This is what I propose. Get everybody on a health kick. Off the booze, off the cigarettes, off the illegal drugs. And of course, people are on those drugs a lot of time because they're miserable. And why are they miserable? A lot of time because they don't feel like they're a part of a team. They don't feel, and the team should be their country, their family, their neighborhood, and their country. They don't feel like they're part of our team. Let's make them feel a part of their team. Let's offer them work, for one thing. That's one of their main problems, is they're idle, and, well, what are we going to do? Well, let's sell some drugs. So we're going to give them something else to do. So we're going to have this new plan called guaranteed jobs. If you can get to the job office by 8 in the morning, halfway sober, you can work that day, get paid. No questions asked. As long as you're legally in the country, over 18 or 19 or college or high school graduate, no questions asked. You can be an ex-con, you can be old, you can be crippled, you can be blind, doesn't matter. We'll find something for you to do, and we'll leave it to the cities and counties to provide these jobs. So they're in touch with the local needs and the Indian reservations. Unemployment's a real big problem there. So we'll put these local grassroots government organizations in charge of creating the jobs, but it'll be a federal program so that it's affordable everywhere. And you think that the economy has improved in my first 10 months or something? You won't believe how great this economy is going to be. And Canada will follow suit, of course, because they're a bunch of copycats. So the economy is going to be so out of this world. Every country in the world is going to start copying us. Oh, let's us have guaranteed jobs too. Get people to work. There's value in work. There's dignity in work. I'm not a spoiled brat like they say. They think, oh, because my father did pretty well as a developer, that I was a spoiled brat. Not necessarily. You can be rich and you can still raise your children right. He had me working on those construction sites. I learned carpentry. He had me picking up nails. Do you know how much a damn nail costs? 5 cents a pound back then. 5 cents a pound for nails. I'm picking them up. I learned the value of $1. I'm not spoiled. Never. I don't spoil my own children either. They work hard. They're clean kids. Hair's a little bit too short, but these young people say are a little square, but they'll catch up with us eventually. And the first woman president, that'll probably be Ivanka. And then the country will be saved. I think we have a German in the audience here. What was this we have?
Work makes free.
Is that one of your communist slogans?
No, that was over Auschwitz Gate. That's what they told the Jews. They were going to employ them all.
Okay. Well, so you're going to call me a Nazi again, right? Okay.
To me, I agree that work does make free, but free work.
Yes, and I'm not proposing slavery. This is a voluntary program. Did I mention that? No, I didn't mention that. This is a
State-controlled. Not state-controlled or personally controlled.
So, well, that's what we have now.
Yeah, we're not free.
But the private enterprise is not providing the jobs, right? Because they look at some of our more unfortunate members of the general public in the United States and they say, we're never going to hire them. Let's import some wetbacks in here and they'll do a much better job. So there's some people who are permanently unemployed.
Free enterprise.
So you're a super capitalist, are you?
Yeah, I believe in free enterprise.
And so you think that it's just government restrictions which have prevented free enterprise from employing all the people?
Yeah, the church operating through the government. The church operating through the government. With their people's opinions of other people, their biases and bigotry have prevented all kinds of enterprise from happening, of people who have different styles of living on this planet. They're here to have a good time, not be wearing sackcloth and ashes all their life to get into some kind of afterlife reward.
Oh, okay, well, we're getting off onto religion here. I'm talking about employment, and I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just...
Getting off it, that's the problem. There's no way to get off it unless you let people be free.
Okay. He's saying let people be free and have free enterprise. Well, maybe you should be a libertarian. Now, in the United States, the libertarians are the third largest party. In Canada, I think they're about the 20th largest party, because you have socialized medicine, or in other words, government health insurance, and the libertarians are against government health insurance, so Canadians will never, ever elect a libertarian, whereas they do occasionally get elected in the US. But I am not a libertarian. In fact, I almost was a Democrat. In fact, I had Democratic leanings, and if the landscape had been different, I would have run for president as a Democrat. Doesn't matter to me, because I'm going to give the people what they want and need, and Republican was just the easiest route to get there. It's not that I'm in principle a Republican. That's why they hate me, because I'm not in principle a Republican, and I'm in principle a populist, which means I'm for the people, and they're against the people. Everyone who's not a populist is against the people. So if the people want some socialism, I'll give them some socialism. If they want some free enterprise, I'll give them some free enterprise, if it works. That's the key. It has to work, just like the people I hire.
It has to work for you.
No, it has to work for the people. I wouldn't have run for president if I just wanted to work for me. I would have continued working for me. Now I'm working for you, the president of the United States, and maybe next time I'll be president of Canada, or the world. But for now, I'm just president of the US. I'm working for them. I didn't have to. I spent my own money getting elected. That's why I got elected, because people said, hey, a rich guy is spending his own money and speaking like us, speaking in short words, with the same fears and hopes that we have, instead of what they teach them in some communist university. That's why I got elected. Since I'm in Canada, I should mention Marshall McLuhan. So he wrote some books, one of them, Understanding Media. And one of his points that I really liked was about racism. And in South Africa, they had really backward, stupid racist laws much longer than in other countries. Why? Because they got television later. So television actually cures racism, shows people of all colors, but also it just gets people thinking in different ways, which you'd have to read the whole book to understand. But this great man, Marshall McLuhan, said racism is dead because of television, and that's true. The medium is the message. And so I'm not a racist because I grew up with television, and so I can't be a racist, even if I wanted to be. The people who are shooting blacks in the back, that's not because they're members of the Klan. That's because they're put into situations where they're afraid, where they feel it's a class war, where they feel it's a race war, and it's us against them. But that's not a racist in the classic sense, the classic pre-television sense. None of us are that anymore. So we have to understand racism on these new terms. So one of the ways I'm going to answer the hopes of Black Lives Matter is by ending forced unemployment through voluntary, dignified work, and that'll work. Another thing, police should never be working alone. Security guards should never be working alone. They should always have at least two of them together, because otherwise they get too nervous and trigger happy. But they're trying to cheap out on paying. Oh, if we just hire one security guard, it'll be cheaper. No, he's more deadly that way, he or she. If you read Carlos Castaneda, you'll read about Native American myths. One of them is one of their favorite characters in various forms, who is the trickster. So the trickster appears to be one thing, and then you find out later, oh, no, he tricked me, he's something else. He is something else. He's in a different place. He's saying a different thing. Everything's different. It's like a hallucination. It's trippy, man. So these are good books. So I'm the trickster. I'm the prankster. First they called me stupid, then they called me Hitler, and give them another year or two, and they'll be saying, yeah, he's done a lot of good things, but we still don't like him. That's what they say. That's what they'll say. I'll be reelected, of course, if I choose to run again. The midterm elections will be interesting. All options are open. So suppose unlikely, but let's say the Democrats captured both houses. Well, I'll work with the Democrats. I know a lot of Democrats. I used to support Hillary, in fact, and Bill. I know how to be a Democrat. I know how to work with them. But the Republicans' game is just to oppose everything of the Democrats. I mean, we had this problem, this fella mentioned it, with health care, that everything Obama tried to do was blocked just on principle, that they didn't want to let the Democrats have credit for doing anything. I don't have any such restrictions. I can do anything, and I will. So basically, as the trickster, I'm crazy like a fox. There's method in my madness. I'm having fun with this wild trip of a lifetime of being president because I had to get high somehow. Business got a little bit boring, and this is the greatest trip. And if you do it psychedelically, you can get a lot more accomplished. Not the old chain-smoking alcoholic way. Did you know that almost all the parties are still dominated by alcoholics? The Green Party, when they came in Deutschland first, were noted for being more into cannabis than alcohol. And that was sort of good. I mean, a change is as good as a rest. But even better is neither of those drugs. Teetotaling. Oh, did I tell you I'm a teetotaler? Yeah, I did. And so that's how we're going to do it. Get high naturally on politics, on love, on sex, on health food, saving the environment. Like these leaf blowers. Does anybody hate leaf blowers as much as me? That's bad for the environment. Oh, they think they're cleaning up the environment. No! They're spewing gasoline fumes, or even if it's electric, it's loud, because they're too lazy to use a rake or a broom. Come on. That's bad for the environment. So people think I'm against the environment. No, I'm the biggest champion of the environment. No more leaf blowers. You've been a wonderful audience, but we have time for one or two more questions just to wrap it up, just so that you know that you are in charge in making me the greatest president ever, because it's what you want and need, not what I want and need. I got my billions long ago. Now it's what you need.
But Mr. President, what about your legacy?
I just talked about my legacy for an hour and 10 minutes. Wait, you mean being the most humble president ever who accomplished the most isn't a good enough legacy?
That's not what legacy means. You know that.
No, Little Miss Dictionary, what does it mean?
Hearts and minds.
There you go.
I'm winning I'm winning over the people. I won over enough to get elected, which is 3 million less than a majority, or 3 million less than my opponent, actually, which is even less than a majority. Do you say dotard or retard?
Dotard.
Dotard. I thought it was dotard.
Dotard.
Okay. Dotard. Are you? So you're prejudiced against old people, are you?
I'm not prejudiced against old people, but I don't have a lot of use for people who do for no good reason.
So my good reason is to get glory for myself.
We all
by doing a good job for you.
If you do something decent, yes. If you win people's hearts and minds, then you've done good things.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it now, better than any other president.
Just does things for the sake of doing them, and the more noise and crap it makes, the more they have to respond to in their own biofeedback. And that's what's going on with you. America's a sick puppy.
I agree with that last sentence, but you'll see that I'm going to succeed because I think positively, the power of positive thinking. Set your goals high. Talk to yourself. Have high self-esteem by how you think of yourself. This is what Norman Vincent Peale taught me, and my father, and my mother. And my mother was from the I think the Outer Hebrides or somewhere up where near north of Scotland, way out in the sticks. Now, back in those days, things were a little more old-fashioned. So I think she actually gave me more breastfeeding than the average person of my generation. So this is another thing. You laugh, you think this is not important. No, breastfeeding occurs, if at all, in your first most vulnerable stage of life. That what happens to you in the first 3 years creates your personality from your genetics. It's the most important. We all have infant amnesia, so we don't know unless we ask our relatives what happened to us in those first 3 years. But I think that's what happened to me, and I'll give you the Canadian connection since I'm talking to a Canadian audience. There was, yeah, you next. So there was this woman in New Brunswick, that's in Canada for those of you in the States who don't know. This woman from the sticks of New Brunswick, and she gave. She was trying to get to the hospital, but she didn't get there in time, so she gave birth in some hut or something, and the doctor comes in, oh, sorry, ma'am, I got here too late. Your baby's already born. I hope it didn't cause you too much pain. That's a nice thing for a doctor to say. I hope it didn't cause you too much pain. And she looked up with her innocent backwood sticks face, and she said, oh, was there supposed to be pain? We are mammals. We are animals. If we live naturally, pre-Christian, I might add, or pre-Genesis in the Bible, before women were doomed to have pain in childbirth, it says right in the book, pain in childbirth is not natural. Occasionally, but not normally. Sleeplessness during breastfeeding is not natural. Totally a modern construct. Totally unnatural to lose sleep with the baby.
On that note, Mr. President, I think it is time for the audience to applaud your efforts.
Trying to get rid of me. Okay, thanks. All right, you're getting tired. Your little brains are just so overloaded with wonderful stories. So thank you very much, everybody. Vote for me when I'm running for president of the world. Thanks a lot. Did you know I can sing? What the world needs now is love, sweet love. All you need is love, love. Be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. Give me a head with hair, long, beautiful hair. Kicks won't bring you peace of mind. You don't own me. Don't tell me what to do. He's the universal soldier, and he really is to blame. Maybe someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.